Hello gang, I'm Scott Leber along with David Greenberg, and welcome to our digital midweek high school football show that we call Countdown. Each week we'll be counting down to a big weekend of high school football in the Rockford area. This week we're also counting down to the start of the season.
Yeah, we'll look ahead at some of the matchups this weekend and hear from some coaches and players and get you up to speed on what to expect. It was difficult to envision last summer high school football being played in the spring instead of the fall, but that's what we have. Some teams will play 6-game seasons, others will play 5 games. Conference champions will be crowned, but there will not be postseason playoffs.
And teams have been adjusting on the fly, rescheduling games, and holding practices at places like Sports 4-2 and at the Indoor Sports Center where they can get inside or get on turf fields. This is Belvedere North holding its practice on Tuesday on the turf outside of Sports 4-2. Now, teams don't want to tear up their grass practice fields in this cold and often damp March weather. Teams also don't want to tear up their game fields, so a lot of teams that play games on grass have sought out alternative locations to play their home games on fields that are turf.
Durant-Pecatonica will be playing all of its games on the turf at Auburn's Wyeth Stadium. Dakota will be playing home games at Harlem. Lena Winslow will play a home game or two at Freeport. EPC will also play at Freeport. Winnebago will be playing its home games at Harlem. We'll also see Boylan playing some home games at Harlem, and Hononegah's home game this Saturday against Belvedere North will be played at Harlem. So, some teams will play all their home games at alternate sites, others will play their first couple of home games in alternate sites, and then as the weather hopefully improves, they'll play their final home game on their actual home field.
That is the plan anyway. Now, fans will be allowed to attend the games, but stadiums can only be filled up to 20% capacity as of now. Hopefully that number increases in the upcoming weeks. But now, David, one local football team has already opted out this week, Ashton Franklin Center. The Raiders just don't have enough players, and Forston's going to sit out this first week due to some positive COVID cases down there a couple weeks ago. But head coach and athletic director Kyle Zick tells me that Forston is on target to play its second game next weekend, so that's good news.
Yeah, that is very good news. Most of our area teams will take the field this weekend. The exception is the teams in the Big Northern Conference. They won't start up until next weekend. The coaches and athletic directors in the Big Northern wanted to give their athletes more time to transition from basketball to football. So Big Northern teams will play only 5 games this season. How well these athletes transition from basketball to football will be a big factor to watch these first 2 weeks, Scott.
Yeah, most definitely. Even though the basketball guys, they're in great shape, there's a difference between basketball shape and football shape. There are different cuts and movements they have to make in football. And of course, there's the contact, which they didn't have in basketball. So in a normal year, these kids would have been going through contact football days for several weeks in June and July. Then they take a short break of a week or two, and then they're right back into August practices and the season. So typically, they're fully ready to go on opening week. I don't expect to see that this weekend and next weekend. We're probably going to see some sloppy football for a while.
Yeah, most likely. So let's look at some of the games that will be taking place this opening weekend. Because of the alternate stadiums and the weather factor, we'll see games split between Friday nights and Saturday afternoons, and we'll see a lot of different starting times. In the NIC 10 on Friday night, Belvedere will play at Guilford, Jefferson will play at Freeport, Harlem play at Auburn, and East will play at Boylan, East will play Boylan at Harlem, excuse me. The 5th NIC 10 game will be played Saturday afternoon, Belvedere North against Hononegah. That game will be played at Harlem.
In the NUIC, there will be 3 games on Friday night. Orangeville at East Dubuque, Stockton at Milledgeville, and Lena Winslow at Princeton. We'll get into that game a little bit more in a bit. Then there will be 2 games on Saturday. Akron against DuPac. Again, that'll be played at Auburn. And Galena against EPC. That game will be played at Freeport Saturday night. Dakota has an open date because of Forston is unable to play due to COVID protocols. Other games in the area Friday night will be Johnsburg at Marengo, Christian Life Co-op at River Ridge, Hiawatha at Alden Hebron, and South Lloyd at Polo. Those last 3 games are 8-man football. Other games Saturday include Morris at Rochelle, Canelan at Sycamore, and Matei Valley at DeKalb. So, who are the teams to beat this season, and who are some of the key players? That's a little more challenging to pin down than normal because of the condensed season, and some teams have had some players opt out. Everything's more fluid and unpredictable than ever, and who knows what teams might have to shut down a couple weeks if some players or coaches test positive. I mean, we saw that during the basketball season.
Yeah, we did. Let's try our best, though. Starting in NIC 10, the Boylan Titans are the defending champions. They went 9-0 in the conference last season. They went all the way to the state semifinals in Class 5A before getting knocked out by St. Rita. The Titans graduated quarterback John Stark and a lot of other playmakers like Trey Malone, Eric Goodlow, Chase Dixon, and Davion Foreman. But they do return Tristan Gile, Nick Latine, and Xavier Bryant on offense. Plus, middle linebacker Daniel Contreras is back. He led the Titans in tackles last season, so the Titans will be strong.
Harlem returns a lot of talent, and you start with senior quarterback James Cooper. I know he is so eager to suit up. This will be his 4th season as the starting quarterback, and he'll have Dominic McCarron to throw to again. And Jefferson transfer Desian Jordan gives him another weapon. And watch out for junior running back linebacker Adrian Palos. He was a beast last season as a sophomore.
Hononiga's numbers are down a little bit this season compared to normal, but the Indians will still have a larger roster than probably every other team in the NIC 10. The Indians finished tied for 2nd in the conference last season. They graduated their quarterback and the conference's offensive MVP, Peyton Mather. They also graduated their leading rusher, Christian Gomes. But the Indians returned some very talented playmakers. There's Braden Sales, Dylan Collins, and Bryce Goodwin. Big Jarrett Strady-Lutzow at right end, and at quarterback, they plug in junior Isaac Wisenan. The last 2 years, he led Hononiga's freshman and sophomore teams to undefeated seasons. Also watch for a couple more underclassmen on this team, specifically sophomore lineman Jacob Klink and junior Stuart Hale.
I am truly looking forward to watching Hononiga play. Some of those players you just mentioned could turn out to be very special. Now, we saw in basketball the NIC 10 was divided up into 2 divisions. It's the same deal in football, only the divisions in football are aligned differently than they were in basketball. Division A has Auburn, Belvedere North, Boylan, Harlem, and Hononiga. That is a stacked division. In fact, those were the top 5 teams in the NIC 10 last season. So in Division B, you have Belvedere, East, Freeport, Guilford, and Jefferson. So why was the conference set up this way? Well, in a short 6-game season, they wanted to create as many competitive games as possible. So they grouped the stronger schools in one division to play each other, and the other schools in the other division to play each other, so that there would be more competitive balance. That's not to say one of the teams in Division B could not turn out to be better than some of the teams in Division A, but this is what the athletic directors and coaches were striving for. Here's Belvedere North coach Jeff Beck's thoughts on the division setup.
I like the divisional setup. I'm glad that the kids have something to play for. So we get a crossover game in about the middle of the season, and then we'll kind of reassess after the 5-game record where we're at and match up against another team from the division with a similar record or similar place. So I like the fact that we're able to play for something. In this season where we're not having a postseason, we're not having playoffs, to tell the kids that, we're playing for a first-place game or, a third-place game, I think is something that kids can look forward to without that postseason.
Now, it's my understanding that an overall conference champion won't be crowned this year in the NIC 10, just division champions. The final week, there will be some crossover games played where the 2 first-place teams might play each other, but it would not necessarily be for a conference championship.
Let's move on from the NIC 10 to the big Northern Conference. Stillman Valley rose up again last season. The Cardinals tied for the conference champions and finished with 9 wins overall. They returned a conference MVP candidate in quarterback Chad Gehrig. He passed for 14 touchdowns last season and only 1 interception. Top receiver is back. Joe Kuthi, Caden Viverido, and Jacob Sigwards will also add some offensive punch.
Then there's Byron. The last 2 years, the Tigers finished 2nd in the state in Class 3A. They graduated a whole bunch of talent, starting with All-State lineman Tyler Ellsbury. They also graduated some tremendous running backs in Isaac Stigler and Drake and Dane Snodgrass. And they lost their quarterback, Ben Carlson. I mean, we could go on and on. They graduated all 11 starters on offense and 10 on defense. But head coach Jeff Boyer and assistant Sean Considine and Eric Earley and the rest of that coaching staff, they have a knack for developing players and coaching them up. And they're a competitive group, so teams will still have to be ready to play when they face Byron.
In the NUIC, one team to watch is Durand-Pecatonica. Dupec had a breakthrough season last year. The Rivermen went 7-4 and reached the 2nd round of the playoffs. They returned junior Hunter Hoffman at quarterback. He had a brilliant sophomore season, passing for almost 1,700 yards with 18 touchdown passes. Dupec also returned some serious playmakers in Gabe Howard, Trey Stifter, and Trenton Taylor. We expect the Rivermen to pick up right where they left off last season and be a major force in the conference. Another NUIC team that appears to be loaded with talent is Freeport-Acwin. The Bulldogs went 11-1 last season. Their only loss was to eventual state champion Lena Winslow in the state quarterfinals. they returned dynamic quarterback William Gustafson, who was the conference MVP. He's not big, but he makes big plays with his speed, his arm, and his intelligence. This will be Gustafson's third season as Ackwen's starting quarterback. They'll also return standout receivers Brennan Carlson and Andrew Bowman, running back Ty Steekel, and their leading tackler Aiden Curry.
That brings us to Lena Winslow. The Panthers are coming off another state championship season, their fourth since 2010. They graduated two amazing talents in Isaiah Bruce and Sean Ormiston. Opposing coaches around the conference are still celebrating that, but let me tell you, the Panthers will put some more amazing talent on the field this season. There's Iowa-bound two-way lineman Jennings Dunker. Luke Benson returns at quarterback, and the game breaker at running back will be Mari Roby. He could pick up some crazy numbers now that he doesn't have to share the carries with Ormiston and Bruce. Jack Setterstrom will also be a weapon out of the backfield for the Panthers. Now, we mentioned earlier Lena Winslow will open up Friday night at Princeton. Lee Win had an opening on its schedule because of the uneven number of teams in the conference. There was a push for Lee Win to play Princeton, and they made it happen.
Yeah, what a game this could be. Lewin is ranked first in the state in Class 1A. In one preseason poll, and Princeton is ranked second in Class 3A. So this game is being hyped almost as a state championship game of sorts. As we mentioned earlier, the big Northern Conference doesn't start playing until next weekend.
I spent a few moments recently at Winnebago's practice. The Indians were devastated by key injuries last season. They're healthy now and hoping for a strong showing this year. I interviewed Coach Helm, and one of the first things I asked him was how well has his team adjusted to COVID protocols.
It's just a weird situation, as everybody knows, and we're just trying to do the best to follow the precautionary, measures we need to take and still play football.
You won't be playing any games here on your home field this year. Is that a disappointment, or do you sense a little excitement from the guys that, hey, we get to play on turf fields, we get to play in a bigger stadium at Harlem?
I think a little bit of both. I know some seniors pretty upset that, they don't get to play out here, especially with the renovations we've made to our stadium. At the same token, you're right, the opportunity to play on a big stadium in Rockford, a turf field, it's kind of exciting as well.
All right, Big Northern this year, do you guys, all you coaches, just kind of go into this saying it's kind of a mystery this year? Even every season's a bit of a mystery. You don't know what you've got until you see some games under your belt. Is this year an even bigger mystery because of all the fluctuations and unexpected things?
Yeah, I think, with the virus, it could hit anybody at any time and put a wrench into your game plan. So, I think obviously you have your conference favorites in the league in a normal year. At the same token, this thing can level the playing field pretty quickly.
You got some key guys back, obviously. Are your numbers still pretty good, or do you have a lot of opt-outs? How's your roster looking?
We got a nice senior group, and we've had some first-time juniors come out, kind of aid the roster. So, I feel good about what we have right now. I just, the key is going to keep everybody healthy. Not just football related, but keeping them, free of the illness and everything. And so hopefully we go out there with the full strength of guys when we play.
Are there more conditioning concerns this year, that your guys will be in proper football condition when it's time to start playing games than you typically would have?
Yeah, I think you gotta weigh the importance more than ever as far as what are you going to try to accomplish this season. It's a short season. We as coaches have met numerous times and said, hey, let's simplify things. Let's get good at something. You got to build more time into condition because these guys have been off for so long.
And you open with Stillman. That's quite an opponent to start things off with. What are your thoughts on right out of the gate playing a game like that? Huh?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I know we know how good they are. They're bringing a lot back. Mike's an outstanding coach. What do you say about that other than, hey, we got an opportunity to play? So, I told the guys we're not gonna look at our schedule and circle things as this or that. We're just gonna go out there and thank God we have the opportunity to play.
Isn't that the truth for all teams?
Yeah, you better believe it. Teams will continue to try to guard against COVID. Many players will be wearing masks even when they're on the field. Belvedere North quarterback Jake Tapia is modeling one for us here. The masks have Velcro straps that wrap around the helmet's face guard.
We've always had our masks on, but yeah, we just got these today, and I like them a lot considering that it's like a little further away from my face.
So as a quarterback, you got to yell out the signals. Is that going to hinder you calling out the signals?
I don't think so. I think I'll be able to yell loud enough, and I think we got numbers. We're all, pretty close together. I think I'll be all right.
I'm sure we'll see a few of those falling onto the field from time to time, but we'll see how they hold up. Well, the action starts Friday night.
And we'll have it all covered for you on Overtime. Highlights, interviews, feature stories, and more. Join us this Friday night and every Friday night during the season. That can be seen on Fox 39 live at 11 p.m. We also rebroadcast the show Sunday mornings at 9 on Fox 39.
So this is Countdown. Watch for it each week on our website, mystateline.com, and on our YouTube page and on social media as we count down to each weekend of action.
We'll see you Friday.